Stardew Valley is one of the most popular, most played games in the entire world, and if you don't believe me, let's just take a look at the facts. With over 41 million copies sold between PC and console at the time of recording this video, multiple award nominations, a board game, and not one but two live orchestra world tours of its amazing soundtrack, this 9-year-old game is still consistently in the top 5 indie games played on Steam, and as of recording this video, it is the 10th most played game across all of Steam, just one spot below GTA 5, which is insane. But why? Why is this cozy country life simulator such a massive hit that it spawned wave after wave of other cozy games? We're all aware of the sheer amount of other games that have been released over the last few years that aim to replicate the Stardew Valley experience and its success, albeit with their own twists and turns. But why? And why do none of them seem to be able to catch up to the powerhouse that is Stardew Valley? What is it that makes players keep coming back even after 9 years? These are all questions that I'm going to be attempting to answer throughout this video, where we'll be doing a deep dive into the story behind the game and the motivations and ideals that kept solo developer Eric Baroni, aka ConcernedApe, driven and focused, as well as a look at the dedicated modding community that has kept this game fresh and new. It's pretty common knowledge that in its early days and throughout the development of the first few updates to the game, Stardew Valley was made entirely by just one person. And when I say entirely, I mean entirely. Up until version 1.4 of Stardew Valley, Eric Baroni worked on his own for absolutely everything in the game aside from the translations added in version 1.2. He did the pixel art, he made the music, he wrote the dialogue, and he coded and programmed the game. In fact, he almost gave up on the game entirely not too long before it was set to be released. Imagine a world with no Stardew Valley. No, actually, I refuse to even attempt it. So how did he do it? Here's a quote from Baroni himself on a Reddit AMA from 8 years ago. I made Stardew Valley alone over the course of 4.5 years. When I started, I didn't know much about making a video game, but I learned the necessary skills as time went on. It was my dream to make a modern game in the tradition of SNES and PS1 Harvest Moon games. That's right, Stardew Valley is directly inspired by the original Harvest Moon games, which is pretty obvious to anyone that's played them. ConcernedApe originally wanted to make his game the spiritual successor to Harvest Moon. He wasn't necessarily a big fan of the direction that the Harvest Moon games were going at the time and decided to make his own version with all the features that he would have liked to see in the original Harvest Moon games. This simple idea is what got Stardew Valley started, and it's the reason why, in my opinion, we need to stop giving flack to developers, especially indie developers, that create their games by taking inspiration from others. Stardew Valley would not exist if it wasn't for inspiration taken from Harvest Moon. In fact, I would go as far as to say that a lot of the games released in the last couple of decades probably wouldn't exist without taking inspiration from games that came before them. Going back to Baroni, he mentions that he did not know much about making games when he had the idea, but that he learned as he went along. This is something that I personally think contributed greatly to the success of the game. When working with large teams, you often have to weigh the input of many different people with vastly different ideas. But if you're working alone, you only have yourself to answer to. Of course, working on your own has its downsides and extra responsibilities, but when it comes to making your vision work exactly the way that you want it to, sometimes it can be the best way. But how did Baroni learn all of the skills that he needed to make Stardew Valley on his own? In that same AMA on Reddit, one user asked, how did you obtain your diverse set of skills like coding, music, graphics, and writing? Baroni replied with the following. My mom is kind of an artistic person and my dad is a logical, technical person, so I guess the influences started early. I was very interested in computers as a little kid and my dad encouraged me. He then goes on to say, in high school I was way into music. I played guitar, played in bands, and made computer music on the side as well. So I probably have 10 years of computer music experience. I also always drew stuff for fun. My high school job was working at Auntie Anne's, the pretzel place. I would just stand at the little kiosk by myself and draw stuff all day, so I got some practice in that way. I guess it's all just a lifetime of creating stuff. I've always just enjoyed making things, and in the process of doing that, I learned a lot of skills. With such a varied background, it's no surprise that Baroni was able to take on each aspect of making Stardew Valley. But let's take a deeper look at those aspects. When it comes to the nitty-gritty of it, programming and coding the actual game itself, Baroni did have at least some experience with computers through his supportive parents and also from graduating from the University of Washington-Tacoma with a degree in computer science, something that definitely gave him a leg up when developing Stardew Valley. Ironically, he initially struggled to find employment in his field after graduating and began developing Stardew Valley both out of a passion for farming sims like Harvest Moon, but also as a way to practice C# programming. Originally, he was only making a game to put on his resume for potential employers, but we all know that it turned out to be much, much bigger than that. In a 2019 Hackford Tech conference in Boise, Idaho, Baroni revealed that he actually had the entire framework for the game completed in just 6 months, and that the remaining years before the full release were dedicated to changing, polishing, and perfecting the final release. However, Baroni has described himself as not the best with the more complicated aspects of coding, so in December of 2018, he posted an announcement to his blog stating that he would be putting together a small team to help him with future updates going forward, allowing him to keep working on Stardew Valley and, unannounced at the time, Haunted Chocolatier. When it comes to the graphics of the game, done entirely in pixel art, how did he manage to do everything himself? In a 2023 interview with MetalNerd.com, Baroni states, "I made some very small projects before Stardew Valley to help me learn how to code. I did some basic pixel art for those projects, but it was all just by feel. Stardew Valley was the first time I really made a significant amount of pixel art, and the entire game was a learning process." When asked what his biggest challenge was when learning pixel art, Baroni replied, "Probably just getting that feel for how to make pixel art look decent. There's a lot of pixel art no-nos that I wasn't originally aware of, but slowly learned and got the hang of over time. At first, I had to really scrutinize the art to improve it." Much like everything else that went into Stardew Valley, Baroni learned pixel art through trial and error and many, many hours of practice. If you take a look at this original trailer for Stardew Valley that Baroni posted to his YouTube channel in 2012, you will see exactly how much his art style was refined and improved in the years leading up to the launch of the game. It looks like an entirely different game, but it still has that core Stardew Valley spirit. Moving on to the music, it's no secret that it's ConcernedApe's strongest ability among the many that he's accrued over the years, and it truly is impressive how every single song in this game fits perfectly with the ambience and mood of the area that it belongs to. I guess this is one of the many perks of having full creative control over your project. However, ConcernedApe truly is a musician first and a developer second, and music has always been a part of his life. From his parents buying him a Casio keyboard when he was just a kid and writing songs on it, to joining multiple bands in high school, he was prepped and ready to take on the task of writing an entire video game soundtrack. But even that process was an interesting one throughout the development of the game. In a recent interview over on Black Disc's channel, Baroni went into detail about his interesting music making process. He works with a software called Reason Studios and has done for many years now, but that's not what makes his process interesting. Baroni is quoted as saying, "All I use is Reason Studios. I don't have a MIDI keyboard, I don't have any other equipment, so basically I just open up the software, select an instrument, and start clicking down notes onto the screen. That's how I created the entire soundtrack for Stardew Valley." Now, if you know anything about composing and producing music, you will know that this is pretty unorthodox to say the least, and it probably comes as quite a surprise. But I think it's safe to say that it doesn't really matter, does it? I feel like we're often so entrenched in the idea that if you don't do something the way the professionals do it, you're doing it wrong. You don't need to use the most popular software or a MIDI keyboard to make a soundtrack that goes on to have 2 world tours with an orchestra, and you don't need to buy a $1,000 camera to record YouTube videos. This is recorded on a mobile phone that I've connected to my PC using an app. I bet you were expecting an ad for the app here, but there is none. It's just me. I did just launch my Patreon page though, and if you have a second, I would like to tell you about it. If you don't care and you just want to know more about the history of Stardew Valley, I will put a timestamp somewhere on the screen right now so that you can skip ahead. I promise I won't be offended. I want to respect your time. For those of you still watching, hi. This feels pretty intimate, but I just want to tell you guys about my Patreon page and how you can support me and my channel even more so that I can keep making videos if you want to. No pressure at all. So right now, you can sign up to my Patreon, I will leave a link in the description, and for $5 a month, patrons get their names on screen and read out at the end of my videos as a thank you for the extra support, access to a Patreon-only Discord channel in my Discord server, and I will also be posting Patreon-exclusive weekly story times where I will be narrating audiobooks. Within the public domain, of course, for copyright reasons. In fact, the entire narration of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll is already posted and waiting for new and existing patrons to listen to. I have taken the leap and I am now doing YouTube and content creation full-time, so if you do subscribe to my Patreon, you also get my eternal gratitude for helping me keep making my dream come true. And if you listen to all of that, thank you very much. Let's get back to the video. Let's talk a little bit about the dialogue and writing in the game itself. When asked during the Reddit AMA what the hardest part of developing Stardew Valley was, ConcernedApe responded with this. The hardest part might have been the dialogue. Because the NPCs could be anywhere in any context when you approach them, I had to make their dialogue quite general. And to do that many times for the different days of the week and seasons, and then for 30 plus characters, was very challenging. Which is understandable. Almost all of the characters in Stardew Valley have their own backgrounds, personalities, and individual cutscenes that you can experience if you befriend them enough, all of which depend on elements such as the time of day, location, etc. But what about the personalities themselves? When asked about this, Baroni replied, "There is a character who is very closely based on someone in real life, but I'd rather not say who. Many are also based loosely on people I've known in real life. I identify with many of the characters in some way." In another answer, he replies, "A lot of the characters are based on patterns of personality I've recognized during my life, either within myself or in others. I guess I kind of boiled my experiences down to a pure form and used that as my base for the NPCs." And this all makes a lot of sense. Anyone that does any sort of creative work or hobby knows that it's pretty common to pull from real life experiences for your work. There's even a popular but unconfirmed fan theory that ConcernedApe actually based Sebastian on himself. Also, the idea for the chocolate popcorn that you can sometimes buy at the movie theater in Stardew Valley is actually based on a theater that ConcernedApe himself has frequented in Seattle. Also, iridium is in fact not actually purple. It's silver. The only reason it's purple in Stardew Valley is because it happened to be Baroni's preferred color at the time, according to the Reddit AMA. Plus, in the interview that we mentioned before with Black Disc, Baroni mentions how when he was younger, the area he grew up in felt a lot more alive. But now that he's older, bigger corporations have moved in and there's been a big decline in your typical family-owned corner stores. A clear influence for the Joja Mart versus Community Center storyline. However, in a recent interview with PC Gamer, when asked if he preferred Joja Mart or the Community Center, Baroni said that while he does lean more towards the Community Center, and I quote, "That's actually one of the things that I regret about Stardew Valley. I feel like it's too on the nose. Like Joja are the bad guys and Community Center is the right way to do it. I think if I made Stardew Valley again, I would try to be a little more nuanced. Maybe there are some positives to Joja. Nothing is that black and white." This just goes to show how Baroni's development and thought process has evolved over the years with the success of the game, and could show some promise to future updates coming to Stardew Valley, but we'll talk about that a little later. Before we move on to the next part of the video, I just want to make sure that if you take anything from this, let it be the following. That thing that you want to do it. That hobby that you want to learn it. Who cares if it's unconventional or if it's already been done before? Not everything has to be done the way that the professionals do it, and not every idea has to be brand new and shiny. The only way to truly get good at something, no matter what your methods are, is to practice, put the hours in, and learn as you go. This video is probably going to end up being, I don't know, maybe like 20-25 minutes long, but I've been sitting here for 5 hours, because this is the first time that I've ever made a YouTube video where I'm talking to the camera, and it's not going to be perfect, and it's not going to be easy, but it is going to get done. And to those of you watching with young kids, please encourage creativity and support them where you can. Support them where you can when they tell you that they want to make things, whether it's games, music, food, books, whatever it is. You never know, they could be the next ConcernedApe in their field. Just support them. Do the thing. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I've been on the internet a long time, and it's not surprising to see large communities surrounding a single game become rather toxic and unwelcoming. But that is far from the case with Stardew Valley. You could argue that this is due to the non-competitive nature of the game, but I have seen plenty of communities surrounding larger non-competitive games turn real toxic real quick. I actually did have an example written here in my notes, but I don't feel like starting that particular war today. It wouldn't be very democratic of me. Stardew Valley's online community is possibly one of the most wholesome, kind communities I have ever encountered online. I am still relatively new to YouTube, and I've only been posting here for about a year, and yet I have felt so welcome and accepted by creators that are much bigger than myself, which is very, very rare to see in a lot of, online niches. It truly is a breath of fresh air in the hellscape that is the internet sometimes. Plus, the Stardew Valley modding community is single-handedly breathing fresh air into this game year after year. With massive mods that basically add a whole new game to your game, such as Stardew Valley Expanded, and other more niche mods to fit everyone's needs, such as outfit mods, gameplay changes, quality of life mods, and even mods designed to let you marry any NPC that you want, the Stardew Valley modding community outdoes itself when it comes to providing players with endless ways to play this game. There's even a page dedicated to the modding community on the official Stardew Valley wiki with links to their official subreddit and Discord, as well as a list of prominent Stardew Valley modders alongside the mods that they've created, where you can find them, and their Discord and Reddit usernames. It's not surprising that the modding community behind this game is so massive. ConcernedApe has stated on multiple occasions that he loves that people want to mod his game. In fact, in a 2023 post to Twitter, I refuse to call it X, ConcernedApe stated that Stardew Valley 1.6 update was going to be mainly focused on modding, to make the game much easier to mod, obviously, with only a little additional content. He did, of course, end up implementing this change, but he also ended up adding much more content to the game than anybody expected. Speaking of updates, let's talk a little bit about possible future updates coming to the game. Now, before we talk about the future of Stardew Valley, we should probably have a quick look at the long history of updates behind the game itself. I am hoping that the editing version of myself has been able to put together a nice looking timeline on screen for y'all. If I haven't been able to do that, then I'm sorry. I'll learn. The game was released in February 2016, selling 1 million copies just 2 months after its release. A few months later, version 1.1 came out, which added Shane and Emily as marriage candidates, an outdoor area for spouses, new buildings to Robin's shop, and the endgame shop found in the wizard's house. In April of 2017, version 1.2 was released, adding many translations after a lengthy beta period. In 2018, version 1.3 was released, again after a lengthy beta period, with a lot of new content. Multiplayer support for Steam players, the night market, community upgrades, new encounters, new events, new items, new monsters, and of course the most important update of all, hats on horses. In 2019, version 1.4 was released, adding a plethora of new content. We got new areas, new heart events for spouses, new dialogue, a massive new amount of clothing items and hairstyles, a new map, new buildings, new items, and a long list that would probably take up the rest of the video if I listed them all off. A year later, in December of 2020, version 1.5 dropped and added an entire new area to the game, Ginger Island, with all of the content that implies, as well as a new farm layout, quality of life upgrades, and the best 1.5 edition, ducks that swim in water. And just last year, in March of 2024, version 1.6 was released, the latest update to come to Stardew. And while it was originally focused on just adding support for modders, it also added a wild amount of new content and features to the game. We got new crops, new festivals, new dialogues, more pets, more craftables, new NPC outfits, a crossover with Terraria, and the ability to yeet your baby into outer space. Aside from additional patches and fixes, this is pretty much the current state of Stardew Valley. But what about a year from now? What about 5 years from now? While ConcernedApe is currently busy working on Haunted Chocolatier, his next game, which we do not have a release date for as of posting this video, he has said multiple times in the past that there might be some Stardew updates in the future. He also said recently that if there were to be future updates, he wants to announce them only when they're ready to be released in order to avoid delays in the updates across consoles and Steam. When asked by NPR if he ever sees a future where Stardew Valley is finished and complete, Baroni had this to say: "I think a game can have too much content, and I ultimately want Stardew Valley to be the best game it can be. So if I feel like it's starting to become kind of overwhelmed with content to the point where it's detrimental to the game's entertainment factor, I would stop at that point. I don't want to definitively say that the book is ever closed, because I think I will always have a desire to come back and maybe add a thing or two. You know, maybe even 50 years from now I might add something. I, for one, can't wait to be hobbling around whatever dystopian version of a retirement home exists in 2075 muttering about how much I hate Pierre." When asked by PC Gamer what he would have done differently in Stardew Valley, Baroni actually said that he's on the fence about possibly adding resolutions to some of the characters' stories, such as Mayor Lewis and Marnie's secret relationship, or Clint's incredibly depressing decline in his pining for Emily. But aside from character resolutions, what else could be added to Stardew Valley? Well, when 1.6 dropped, I couldn't have even begun to imagine half of the new content that was added. So when it comes to the future of the game, I think it's safe to say that anything goes. While he may be more focused on the development of Haunted Chocolatier at the moment, at the end of the day, Stardew Valley is ConcernedApe's baby. And in the NPR interview that we mentioned before, Baroni says, "I do take in a lot of what the fans are saying. I pay attention to what their thoughts are and what their criticisms are, and the players are very important to me. I mean, I will never forget that it's because of the players that I'm in this position, that the game was able to be popular, that my dreams as a game developer have come true. And so I guess I just feel I want to give it back to them in the same way they've given to me. And I know that might sound kind of cheesy, but for me, it's not really about the copies sold. It's about the fact that there's so many people who have fallen in love with this world that I created. And that right there might be the biggest reason behind the success of Stardew Valley. Eric Baroni is incredibly in touch with his fanbase and has remained humble throughout the success of his first game, listening to fans and taking their thoughts and ideas on board. Like he says, for Baroni, it's not about the copies sold, it's about the people that have fallen in love with Stardew Valley. This and a combination between the modding community, how wholesome ConcernedApe is, the nostalgic feel of playing Stardew Valley, that pixel art feeling that comes with, well, I guess that nostalgic feeling that comes with pixel art, are many of the reasons behind the success of this game. Now, for this last part, while doing research for this video, I found a handful of really interesting little tidbits of information that didn't really fit anywhere else. So consider this a little bonus information with random facts about ConcernedApe. Before he was ConcernedApe, he was going to be called 3 Piping Hot Mouse. Why? I have no idea. The only source that I could find for this was the 2019 Hack for presentation that he did on Stardew Valley, where he showed off actual gameplay of the original build for the game, and in the intro to the game, his name appears as 3 Piping Hot Mouse. I highly recommend checking this conference out. The audio is a little bit scuffed on the video, but it is still a hidden gem. If you go to Eric Baroni's IMDb profile and scroll all the way down to his personal details, you will notice that it lists the Junimo as his children, which I think is absolutely adorable. Thank you so much to whoever did that. Speaking of his IMDb profile, it also lists all of the music videos that Baroni has directed, including a couple for the band Always in recent years. But it also credits him as the director for a couple of music videos for a band that he was in as a late teen called 17 Colorful Feathers. You can, in fact, find one of these music videos on YouTube. It specifically lists 2 videos on his IMDb page, but the one that I was able to find is called It Messed Up Her Face. And yep, I suggest you go watch it. It's a fun song, and you can kind of see a little of that Stardew Valley otherworldly vibe in the video too. Baroni actually made a few small games before committing to Stardew Valley. Most notably, a point-and-click game called 17CF Quest that he made to promote the band that we just talked about, 17 Colorful Feathers. If you look for it, you can actually still find a downloadable and playable copy of the game online, which I of course did, and it's interesting. I don't know if you guys would be interested in seeing a playthrough of that game on the channel, but let me know in the comments if you are, and I'll make that happen. And that's about it for this video. I had a lot of fun researching the history of Stardew Valley, and honestly, hearing how hard the ConcernedApe worked to achieve his goals and dreams was super inspiring to me, even halfway through writing this script when I started thinking that it wasn't a great idea. I still did it. If I've learned anything from making this video, it's that you just have to make yourself do the thing. Don't get caught up in if it's already been done before or if somebody did it better than the way that you're going to do it. Just go do your version of the thing. It doesn't matter. Just make stuff. Sometimes just starting a project when it's the last thing that you want to do can really help kickstart your creativity. If you'd like to support me beyond YouTube, you can find me over on Twitch, where I stream a few times a week. We do co-working streams on Monday and Friday where I work on things like the script for this video, and then we chill with some games at the end of the day, as well as weekly Sunday chill streams. I would love to see you guys over there and hang out with y'all for a while. You can also catch me on Blue Sky, and you can join my community Discord server too. The link should be in the description below. I really hope that y'all enjoyed this video. I will be making many more Stardew Valley guides in the future, don't worry about that. But I also love the idea of doing deep dives into games that have meant a lot to me and games that have meant a lot to you. So if you have any suggestions of other games and developers that you would like to see me cover, let me know in the comments. I just realized that doing an outro for a video while my face is on camera is a lot more awkward than just saying bye. But yeah, thank you for watching the video, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Bye!